we're going to look at how to grow when you're an early stage brand. You're an early stage brand and you need to be listening and watching this kind of training because it's going to be relevant and helpful. So what is the main focus for today? Well, I'm going to tell you how Louise built a 20k a month brand with these methods, these 3 methods. Easy, simple to implement methods to help you grow. So that's what we're going to be looking at. And why should you pay attention? When you're first starting out, there are certain things you need to do in a certain way. Otherwise, it really harms you. So if you go out there and you go crazy and you go just trying to run conversion ads with a poor message, you know, your brand's not quite right, then that's not going to serve you well. So you've really got to get things clarified and corrected before you're able to scale things and to take the easy route, I suppose. You know, in everyone's kind of like ideal world, they would spend like, let's say, I don't know, $100, right? And it would return them sort of $500 of sales. Well, that's a healthy margin, and then you're going to be doing fantastically off the back of that. But what will happen if you've not got your messaging clarified and loads of other things is your $100 in ad spend might bring you $80 in sales, or, you know, 100 break even, you know, the same amount break even, and you take into account the product cost that's not going to be a break even, and it's going to harm you. You're going to lose money. And guys, you should never be losing money on paid ads. That's not the aim. The aim is not that advertising is a sunk cost. You need to get that right out of your head. Advertising is a cost where you should know that for every amount you put in, you get a certain amount back out. No matter what you're doing, any of these strategies, you should be able to calculate what you put in and what you get back out. And that's the aim of everything that we're doing. Okay, so in terms of the main points we're going to cover, let's just flesh these out now. So 1, we're going to be looking at you need an audience. Now look, there are loads of ways to go about building a business. If you're trying to build it from the ground up, getting an audience first of people that are interested, listening, talking about you, buying from, not even necessarily buying from you, but engaging with you is the best way to do it. An engaged audience. That's the key. All right, and that goes back to what the case study we're talking about. You know, 20k from an engaged audience, basically 20k per month, that is, from an engaged audience. No massive ad spend, just building up a really engaged audience. The next thing you need is practice to understand the messaging that gets people over the line and gets them to convert. So what messaging and what copy converts? Because you could go out, right, and you could be like, okay, cool, I'm going to throw down, I don't know, $1,000 on paid ads, right? Well, if you haven't got this right, then that $1,000 is going to burn through quickly, and what you're going to be left with to show for it, potentially not a lot. And that's the situation I don't want you to be in, guys. I don't ever want anybody who's taking guidance from me to be in that situation. And then the third phase, when you get those right, is amplifying your message. Amplify the message. Let's go, and we're going to sort of talk about ways to specifically do this, all right, which is going to definitely help you out. So what is this all leading to, right? You're watching this video, what's the number one thing? Growth. Because growth initially leads to long-term growth. Because if somebody buys from you once, the idea is you want them to buy again. You want them to buy twice, don't you? That's the entire aim of everything you're doing. Somebody buys from you once and disappears. That's not the aim of the game. The aim of the game is to get them to buy from you again. And by having a clear message, they're more likely to buy from you in the first place, and they're more likely to then get a good experience because it links in with what they want, then come back and buy from you again. If you can't get this bit right, this message, then you really should stop at this point. Because what sells your products is not the store. It's not just having a product on that store. It's not just putting the store together. It's not just paying somebody on Fiverr to make a store for you, put a load of products on it. Like, that will actually achieve nothing at all. Zero. Nothing will come of that. It's the equivalent of just opening a bricks and mortar store, just filling it full of products and just sitting there, right? Nothing's going to happen. You have to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. That's the key thing. Why? Why are you putting products together in a certain way? What is it about these products that would engage other people to buy them? You have to establish that first, which is why I'm suggesting that this is the way to do it. So what is step one then? Well, and we're going to look at the way that ads work, just to see how you might utilize what I'm telling you here, and how you might implement it. So step one is you need an audience. That audience are going to tell you so much. So let's say that your audience is moms, right? Or cyclists. It could be a whole range of people. But they're the ones that you sell into. So everything that you build up and build around is centered on these people. It's nothing to do with your store, what you want your store to look like, what your interests are, what your dream is. Everything you're doing is there to serve these people, because people only buy a product that transforms their life in some specific way. So if we go back to Callista here, all right, her market is moms, mostly. And I'm not going to go into her advertising angles, because that's not fair, but needless to say, she's found messaging that really resonates with these people. Right? The other thing she's found, one thing is the messaging, which is the copywriting, and the second thing is the creative. What visual elements do these people respond to? And the thing is, by growing an audience, you get to test these. So if you grow an audience, you get to test the messaging from a copywriting standpoint, and you get to test the creative elements that get people excited. So what is it that engages them? Now, when you figure that out, you've then got something that you can then use to amplify, which is what we're going to talk about. That's phase 3, right? Put it down there. So the amplification can take place when you've figured out what is here and what people are responding to and what makes them look at your products, what makes them buy, what is it that connects with them. So that's the bit there. And then, the second phase here is practicing that messaging. So this messaging and the creatives, they need to be practiced here. And you can really do that in 2 ways. In an organic sense, and by using low-cost paid ads to grow your media presence. And it is my opinion that you've got to see yourself somewhat at this point as a media company. All right? Because you're putting out media. Like, there's 2 things you can do, right, to market. 1, you earn somebody's attention, or 2, you buy it. Now, there's no shortage of being able to buy somebody's attention. Like, you can go throw money at Facebook, Google, Instagram, TikTok, whoever else. They'll take your money and they'll show your stuff to the target market, right? They'll show it. But if the messaging, if the creatives are not right, messaging is not going to hit home. It's not going to strike that emotional connection in people, and they're not going to buy. And if they don't buy, your money's wasted. All right, so hopefully this is all stitching together now, and you're starting to realize, well, okay, I'm talking sense in that you need to get this bit right first. And this all needs to be built around, by the way, innovation. What is your innovative qualities of your brand? And I don't mean you have to invent something completely new that's going to change the world. I just mean you need to be very clear about what you're doing differently, all right? Because being the same is not going to help you stand out at all. So once you've done this bit here, you can then look at amplifying. And the amplification is where you're saying, right, I know what works. I know what gets my people over the line and gets them to buy. So I can then look at spending some money on some sort of paid ad campaigns that are going to get people directly to convert. When you've got all of these things right, you can easily throw money at that because you're going to feel comfortable with it. You're going to know what works. But if you just go straight into this, like that's not going to help you achieve anything, because there's no real distinctive messaging or story there that people are going to latch onto and buy from you. Okay? So, look, step one is about building your media company. I don't mean company quite literally, but I mean choose where people are hanging out, right? Another problem that I see is that people are trying to post on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest. They're trying to be everywhere. And what happens is, if your focus is this circle here, you've only got so much of it. If it's all going out in different directions, I mean, I've just basically drawn an eye, but you're just going to give a little bit out to different things. Whereas if you take it and you put it all into one thing, what's going to be better? What's going to deliver a better outcome for you? That or that? Well, that one is, right? Because you've got all that energy being pushed in one direction. So you're more likely to get movement and momentum from that. Whereas this, you're not. So I always say to people, pick where your avatar's hanging out. They might be hanging out on Facebook, and it might be somewhere you've already got some momentum. Or it might be Instagram, it might be TikTok. Like, normally, right now, Instagram is a good place. TikTok is a good place to grow organically, but it's got its limitations. These two platforms are never going to go anywhere, despite what anyone might think. They're not going to go anywhere, right? So pick one, get some momentum there, grow an audience, get the messaging and creative right, engage people, get them organically interested in what you do, then introduce low cost kind of ways to grow the audience. Okay, like you could literally spend $5 a day to grow your audience, and that would make a significant difference. You'd have more people here, but if this bit isn't right, it's not going to necessarily connect. But even worse, let's say you're spending $50 a day on conversion ads. Well, that's a much quicker way of putting your money down the drain if you don't get that bit right. Which is why I'm definitely of the opinion that this is the way to go, first of all. Get some momentum that way. It's almost like you've got 3 phases. So phase 1 is your organic audience. Phase 2 is using conversion ads. And then phase 3, and when we use conversion ads in phase 2, we're giving Meta more choice about what to do with that money, because the algorithm, the machine learning knows best. So this is audience, Meta choice, and 3, we then start to take more granular control over our advertising, and we start to look at things in a bit more intricate detail. Now, if we look at the ads manager, the type of, in fact, I've got one open, so let's have a look at that. So if you was looking at creating some sort of campaign here, like the way they've done this now is miles better than how it used to be. So awareness is what is going to basically drive people to be, I mean, look, Meta says most likely to remember them, okay? I don't know how they measure that, but that's what they state. Traffic is just going to send you a load of people, right? Now, they're not necessarily buyers. The distinction here between traffic and sales is Meta's going to send you people that are buyers here, and it's going to send you anyone here. So this is cheaper, but they're not really inclined to buy. This is more expensive, but they are way more likely to actually purchase from you because they've got a history of doing that. So, if you want to be growing your audience, take that message and amplify it and raise the awareness, give people a good reason to engage with you. One way of doing that is contests, for example. Grow your ability to really connect with people, and then find the messaging that works, find the messaging that really connects with them. And that's the way to grow. That's how to do it. So I hope that's been helpful in terms of how to go from the ground up. But remember this, no one's going to just visit your store or get what you're talking about or get what you're selling. like the only way for you to go is to figure that bit out. And you've either figured it out before you launch a store, like you might have been selling on a marketplace before, like Etsy, eBay or something, so you might have a better idea of that, more money to invest. If you're just starting out building a brand, what you really need is to figure out what works, and that takes, a process like the one that I've just shown you.